Okay, so you've got your Betfair customer statement, which hopefully wasn't too difficult to get. And now we need to convert it into the normal Betfair format, which they provide your download when you get your betting P&L file from the website, which you can download for up to 3 months worth of your betting data. So we need to open up the conversion spreadsheet. The first time you open it, you might be asked if you want to enable macros. You need to say yes to enable macros, and then you just go to step 1. To click to import the Betfair Customer Report. So that customer report must be the only other spreadsheet that you have open. And then you click on import, and it's imported all the records and summed them up so that you've got the net profit and loss for each event, rather than on the report you can see you've got each individual bet and then a total. So on this one you can see it was £10.10 and then the commission deducted from that, so the net amount would have been £9.89, and that's what you can see there. The next stage is to add in the sport information. So there are 6,239 rows of data here, so obviously adding in the sport information for all of those would be extremely time consuming. So that's where the spreadsheet comes in and helps by, so you just click on step 2 and it's auto-identified 6,088 of the rows, and that's just left 151 rows remaining that you need to manually enter the data for, which is just 2% of the total. So it's 98% of the overall amount was auto-identified. So the first thing that I can see here is there's a lot of football data. So let's try and identify some football data quickly. So by clicking on the triangle on any of the columns, you can do a search. So let's first search for goals. And here you can see that this is all football data. The reason why the spreadsheet doesn't auto-identify records like this is because there's other sports that have goals in them, which is mainly hockey and ice hockey. However, if you know you've never bet on hockey or ice hockey or any of the other sports have goals, then you can just fill these in as football. So you can just fill the first one and then copy it down. So you can do Control Shift and Down key, or you could just do Shift and Down key and keep going till you get to the end. And then Control D copies down to all of those records. And then now if we click filter on blanks, we've just got 104 records that need the sport entry. So next up, I can see just by looking here that these records are all football. So again, click down, just got 99 records left now. Another one that I've noticed is there's a lot of accumulator bets, so I can search on ACCA. Again, fill that in, copy it down. So we're down to 79 rows already. Another thing, a couple of things here that help speed this process up for you. The versus row, that's looking to see whether the event was a team versus another team or a person versus another person. So if you primarily bet on football, then that's probably going to just find you the football records. But if you bet on tennis as well, then obviously that would also apply. So let's actually do the opposite to start with. So let's deselect the records where the versus filter is true, and let's look at the false records. So these are going to be the kind of outliers. So here we can see presidential elections, so that falls under, you could put in politics or special bets, so Eurovision, special bets. Now this one here, you can see that that's clearly horse racing. The reason why the spreadsheet hasn't identified that is because Betfair haven't followed their own naming standard. So for overseas races, they should have entered the country code there, France, and that's why the spreadsheet didn't identify that one. Here, the Players' Championship, I'm not sure what that is, So I can just copy that name and go back to the report and select column F, or the column that has the detail information in it. Control F for find, and paste that information in, and it will find the first record that has that event name. So you can see these are all bets on Rory McIlroy, so that is golf. So you can either type that in, or you can use the pop-up menu and find the sport like that. That's a special bet on football. That's football. That is another special football. And then we've got another one here, which I'm not sure what that is. So again, select the column, paste in the text you want to search for, find next, and it's the men's tournament, men's winner, Rafael Nadal, so that's tennis. Let's get that out of the way. So we're now down to 71 rows, and so this is going to be the records where versus is true for all of them. So we've now got 71 records. So you could go through manually. It would probably only take you about 5 minutes to just go through and label all of these. Now, this isn't my data, so I'm not actually familiar with a lot of these, whereas if I'd actually been betting on these markets, I could probably just skim through and very quickly just add in the sport. But one other way that the spreadsheet helps you do this is the first name column just takes the first team or the first name relating to the event. So you can look at that and it will be a unique list, so it will only have one instance per name. And so let's try and find the non-football events, because this seems to be mainly football, and so if we find all the other ones, then at the end we can just label everything remaining as football. So if we find people's names, I don't know if that's a name or not, then we can label all of these. Edmund, I've got a feeling might be a team. You can tell that football isn't, overseas football isn't my strength. Let's go through Mumbai Indians, that would be cricket. So you don't have to get the filtering spot on. If there's anything that you just want to have a look at, then just select it. That's a team, that's a tennis player. So, and then I can just Google this in my other screen here. So that is football. There's probably going to be some of you shouting at the screen right now. That's cricket. So is that. Yeah, that's cricket as well. Copy that down. That is tennis. Chisnall is darts. What's this? Football again. I think that is tennis. And finally, that's also tennis. So this is what happens if you make a typo. So it does that just to keep all the names consistent, so that when you import it into the results summary spreadsheet, you don't have like variants of the same sport with different spellings. So filter on blanks, we've got 62 left now. So that is going to be nearly all football. So I don't necessarily have to go through every single one of these with you. Obviously everyone's data is going to be different, and I think the point is that when it's your own data, you're going to be able to do this quite quickly. Again, that's football. Those are as well, obviously. So that's another cricket. Select it. on this one, the reason why it hasn't identified this as football is because if it's England, then it obviously could be another sport like rugby. So on the international matches, you'll have to enter them in manually. So I think that's football. Go through football. So if this was my own data, then I'd obviously just go through and enter each one, look at each event and just make sure I'm putting the right sport in. If I miss one, that's not the end of the world. That's also football. I think that could be tennis. And so is that. So filter on blanks. So now let's put everything else as football. And you can see now we're down to 0 rows need entering. So we're now ready to export this data for the results summary spreadsheet. So you just click on step 4. And it tells you the data's been exported. Please open the results summary spreadsheet and click on import betting P&L, Betfair betting P&L. Then select the file called results report export with today's date and time, and that's in the same directory as this spreadsheet. So if I go back to the folder, you can see that that file has now appeared. So if I open up results summary, I recommend that you update to the latest version, which is 3.5 at the moment. Anyone who's paid for version 3 can update for free. Anyone who's bought version 2 previously can upgrade to version 3 for a discount of 50%. So if I click on import, select the export file that we just created, click open. Now it takes a few seconds to load. It's got 6,000 odd records, so that will take a few seconds. And there we go, we've got a report representing 6 years worth of betting data with over 10,000 bets in over 6,000 markets. We've identified the sport and imported it into results summary, all in less than 10 minutes. I'm going to do a new video showing the features that have been added since version 3. I'll just quickly show you the horse racing screen. So here you can see that we've got the horse racing totals by every racetrack, and that's something in version 3.5 that consolidates the old naming standard, which used to be an abbreviation of the racetrack, with the new naming standard, which is the full name of the racetrack, and so it combines those two totals into the one name, because after all it is only one racetrack. So I think I'll leave it there for now, and all the best with your trading.